Hello, my name is Sarika.
And my name is Michael.
And this is Today in Years Past.
Today is June 25th.
Woo!
Guess what else it is?
The day before my dad's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah!
That's not what I was alluding to, but yeah, it is almost your dad's birthday.
Yeah.
That's fun. Well, happy birthday.
Yay, happy birthday.
Big shout out to Bhavesh.
Woo! So what is it?
But what I was going to say, it's Leon Day.
What does that mean?
It's Noel backwards.
Oh!
We're 6 months away from Christmas.
Woo!
We are
Merry
exactly
Christmas!
6 months. Merry Christmas. Merry Leon Day.
Oh, isn't it actually... No, that's earlier this month. I was going to say it's halfway to the end of the year. Yeah, I guess that would make sense considering it's Christmas and everything.
Yeah.
But, did you also know that today we're closer to 2025 than we are from 2020? Or no, than we are from 2000, the year 2000. We're closer to 2050.
We've crossed the threshold.
Yeah.
We are over the hill.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, that is kind of wild. Do you remember the 2000s very well?
Yeah, pretty well.
I feel like I remember them pretty well, but like looking back on things from then until like what's going on now, it just feels like night and day. Like it doesn't feel like it's real compared to like the 2000s and stuff.
Yeah.
Like so much stuff has happened.
I know, but we're the same amount of distance from the year 2000 to, or closer to 2050 than we are to the year 2000. Yeah, like so much has happened since then, and like I remember that pretty well, and it's so crazy to think about and how much has happened.
It is pretty crazy. So anyway.
Anywho. All right, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Well, I do want to kind of cover what my topics are just a little bit.
Cool.
So, my first story is a new record that was broke, or a record that was broke that hasn't been beaten yet.
Oh.
And my second story is about a utensil that has been brought to American dining and that we use pretty much every day, and I thought it was pretty interesting. And
Cool.
then my last topic is first time... Well, it's the first time. I don't want to spoil it.
I was going to say, a lot of spoilers up in the front. All right. So do you want to go first?
Oh, I guess. I don't know. I thought we were going to compare topics, but yeah.
No, I want to surprise the crowd.
All right. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, then, in that case, I will go first.
Cool.
So mine is a shocking new record.
Okay.
That's what I named it.
Cool.
And it's a record that hasn't been beaten to this day. It's a record that was set on today, June 25th, 1977.
Okay.
And it's the most times a single person has been struck by lightning.
Ooh. Oh, my Lord.
Right?
That's insane.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh, no.
Wait till I get into this story because it gets even crazier.
Oh, my God.
I did the math and everything. It is a wild story. This should not have happened.
Are they still alive?
Not anymore, but they didn't.
They
didn't
survived
pass.
that.
They survived all lightning strikes. They got struck 7 different times.
My God, they could not catch a break. Why didn't they go indoors?
Well, here's the thing. He was a park ranger.
That'll do it.
So he was
That'll do
outside all the time.
Jeez.
Roy Cleveland Sullivan was struck by lightning 7 different times, a record that has still not been beaten to this day.
Oh my God. I hope for anyone's sake in the world that they never break that record. That's crazy.
I wonder if anybody's gotten close. Like, I wonder if there's somebody out there that's been struck 6 times.
They're like,
But,
do that one more.
just need one more to tie with the record.
Jeez.
But yeah, he's the only man in the world to have been struck by lightning 7 different times and survived every single time.
Whoa.
His story was well documented enough to get him in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Dang.
So if you can actually look him up in the Guinness Book of World Records.
So in that instance, like, how does that work? Like, because no one was there to witness him get struck by lightning 7 times. So How do you figure that?
I think what happened is there was a lot of document that went through because he was a park ranger. So I guess he had to like put in every single time that this happened.
Oh, okay.
Although not every single time was him on the job. There were a couple instances where he was at his house.
What?
And this happened, yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, tell me more.
Okay. Roy was born in Greene County, Virginia on February 7th, 1912. So
where it all started.
This is where it all started. He became a park ranger at Shenandoah National Park in Virginia. So he's basically lived in Virginia his whole life.
Love that farm.
Which is probably, I'm not even going to say it, I'm just going to.
Okay.
Subsequently, he was outside in various types of weather, basically because of the work he did, being a park ranger and all, he had to be outside constantly.
Makes sense.
And that's pretty much all you really need to know about Roy. Like, he grew up in Virginia. He was outside all the time, became a park ranger. He was just outside all the time.
Fair.
He was literally a living anomaly. I did the math. What the odds are of being struck by lightning at least once is 1 in 15,300. That is a 0.0065% chance of happening just one time.
Wow.
Guess what the odds are of being struck 7 times?
Like 1 in a billion or something crazy like that?
Close.
Wow, okay.
Actually, I was being sarcastic. It's not close. But it is a 1 in 10 to the power of 22. That's 22 zeros.
That's a lot of zeros. Wow.
It's 22 zeros, 1%. It's a 100 billionth of a billionth of a percent.
Good Lord.
Basically,
that's crazy.
It's basically zero. This shouldn't happen.
So,
this should never happen.
But like, was there something about him? Had he been struck by lightning before this day? Like, what was it?
So the date that I mentioned was the last time. So the 7th time. That's the record. He set the record on the 25th.
Oh, okay. So over his lifetime, he got struck by lightning a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I thought you meant on that one day.
Oh my God. Could you imagine?
That's what I was like. But still, that's crazy.
Dude would be fried.
Right? Yeah. No, okay, but still, like, that many times. Okay, so, like, was it once a year? Was it once a decade? Like, what are we looking at?
So it averaged about once every 3 years, and I noticed that there was kind of like a trend that happened.
Okay.
So like he got struck once, and then like 6 years or so went by, and then all of a sudden it was like every other year he was getting struck by lightning.
Whoa.
Yeah. So basically, here's a breakdown of the 7 lightning strikes he endured.
Okay.
Between 1942 being the first time he was struck, and 1977 being the last time that he was struck.
Okay.
So 1942. Struck while in a fire lookout tower. The tower had no lightning rod at the time. The lightning set his hair on fire and knocked off a toenail.
Oh my God.
Now that was in 1942.
Whoa.
July of 1969, while driving a truck, lightning struck nearby trees, then jumped to the open window. He lost consciousness and his eyebrows, and his eyelashes were singed.
While he was driving?
That was amazing to me too. Like, he was driving, he lost consciousness, and he was still somehow okay. He got struck by lightning, was in a vehicle that was moving.
Oh my God.
And was somehow okay.
Just another day on the job for him.
Now, if you look back, so 1942 and 1969, that's almost a 20-year gap.
Sure.
And then 69 to the next time he was struck, literally just a year. So 1970, wow. He was in his front yard, and he got his left shoulder burned.
Oh my God. Okay, wait. So in all these instances, like, maybe stupid question, but does his toe grow back? Does his eyebrows come back?
Well, I'm sure his toenail your toenail grows back.
Okay, sure.
You know, like you lose a toenail if you hit it with a hammer or something, it comes back.
What about his eyebrows?
I'm sure they grew back.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's the same thing. You get like too close to a fire, they get singed.
That's
Eventually
fair.
They'll grow back.
Okay.
It's not like it's just permanently gone.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
But that is like the most common. I had to take OSHA testing when I got my new job. So I'm aware of like electrical burns. That's the most common effect of an electrical shock is a burn. So him getting burned from like his shoulder and losing his eyelashes and stuff, that's that's a very common occurrence in getting shocked which is not the same as electrocution. Electrocution is death by being shocked.
The more you know.
So I knew that from my OSHA testing. So shout out to OSHA testing.
Woo, OSHA.
April 16th, 1972. So we're 2 years later. While in a ranger station, hair again set on fire after this strike. He started carrying a can of water with him everywhere.
Does a can of water, to like
put it out.
Oh my God. Wow. I mean, fair. Stay hydrated too, I guess.
Yeah, you gotta stay hydrated. You gotta put out fires that are happening on you all the time.
On yourself, like on your body. Jeez. This poor guy.
August 7th, 1973, struck while on patrol. The lightning again set his hair on fire and threw him from the truck.
Whoa. What is it about him? Like, does he have like high electrical charges or something like that? Like,
I got into it because this is
Really?
such an astronomically rare event.
Yeah.
I wanted to see if people had studied him.
Right, yeah.
And it turned out that there was no formal scientific studies or medical studies.
Why?
There was nothing publicly documented or published about Roy Sullivan's extreme susceptibility
What?
to lightning strikes.
What?
Yeah, like I thought the same thing. I was astonished. I was like, why hasn't this been documented? Because this is not normal.
Right.
If I was a scientist and I was even remotely interested
Totally.
in lightning, I'd be like, this dude.
It's an anomaly.
It literally is a
Yeah.
1/10000000th of a percent.
That's crazy.
That's like zero. That is literally, that shouldn't happen at all.
Why didn't they? That doesn't make any sense. I feel like we research, I mean, not other not important things, but I feel like that's something that I feel like you should, just to like see what was up. I mean, for the greater good of science, right?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean,
Right.
the closest thing I could find is that some people theorize that he might have had slightly different conductivity or an electromagnetic field of his own, basically. But this is
Sheesh.
speculative, and no tests have confirmed it. So there's
Fair.
there's literally nothing.
To know.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wow.
And I mean, after all of these lightning strikes, he definitely developed a phobia of lightning.
Fair. Yeah, maybe some PTSD too.
Oh, for sure. Like, this is so scary. But there's still two more times that he was struck. So he was struck while on patrol. That was in 1973 on August 7th. June 5th, 1976. While checking a campsite, he injured his ankle after getting struck again for the sixth time. And
Poor guy.
finally today, June 25th, 1977.
Wow.
He was out fishing. Lightning hit the top of his head, traveled down, and burned his chest and stomach.
Oh no.
And that was the last time he was struck. But he survived. He was
Wow.
fine. And this is the crazy story. Astonishingly, after the seventh strike, he reportedly had to fight off a bear that was trying to steal the fish he caught.
Oh my God.
And
He cannot catch a break.
Dude, this dude was so used to getting struck by lightning. He was like, he woke up after getting struck and he just fought off a bear.
Wow.
He's like, no, that's my
Wow.
fish.
That's crazy. Well, no, he got struck by lightning, went fishing for food, and then he fought off a bear. Like, what in the world?
Well, he was fishing,
Oh.
and then he got struck by lightning. He was struck while he was fishing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Jeez, that's crazy.
yeah. And so I guess like when he was struck, he passed out, and the bear saw his fish, and then he woke up
my
and just
God.
like chased off the bear, basically.
So in all of these instances, like, I'm surprised that, I mean, like, a fishing rod doesn't, I'm sure it's probably a conductor for electricity. And so I'm questioning his decisions in some points, but at the same time, it's like, you know, it's a park ranger. But at the same time, if you hear thunder coming in, and
Yeah.
you've been struck by lightning that many times.
Well, like I said, he definitely developed a fear of lightning. Astrophobia is the fear of thunder and lightning, and actually it's very common in pets.
That's fair.
So whenever you
Yeah.
hear thunder and your cat or dog is freaking out,
Yeah.
that's a sign of astrophobia. It's just like he had a reason to be afraid of
For
thunder and lightning,
sure.
but it also can make you act kind of unpredictably.
Oh.
Like you don't think straight. So like most people would like run inside or, seek cover if there was lightning strikes. But with astrophobia, I guess as soon as you start hearing thunder, you start like panicking a little
Yeah.
bit. And so like it doesn't help you contemplate what's happening.
Yeah.
I guess.
Aw.
Like you know what's going on, but like you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
Like you
yeah.
you
Your
don't really-
logical thinking kind of goes out the window.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so that was what was kind of happening with him,
Yeah.
I guess. So he, rightfully so, he was dubbed the human lightning rod, with some calling him Roy the Spark Ranger.
Oh my God. I hope he got like a badge or something like that, or something to commemorate him, because that's crazy.
Roy ended up becoming a minor celebrity, though people tended to avoid him during storms in fear that they could also be struck by lightning.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't blame him. I probably would do the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some colleagues believe that he somehow attracted lightning, which brings me back to my other point. Like, why was there no scientific study about this? Like, I feel like that's at least somewhat remotely interesting.
Yeah. I wonder if any of the other park rangers that he worked with ever got struck by lightning or anything like that. Or, God, I would offer to switch my shift with him or something at that point. Like,
right?
Goodness, call out sick whenever the thunderstorms. But I guess they're unpredictable, especially as a park ranger. But
yeah, well, he lived until 1983, September 28th, 1983. He passed away.
How old was he?
71.
Wow.
71 years old. Yeah.
Wow.
And
man, God, I can't even imagine. Like, I wonder if he had like little ding marks on him from like all the lightning strikes.
I'm sure he had some battle scars.
Yeah.
For sure.
Right.
He definitely had some mental scars.
Ooh, I can only
unfortunately.
imagine. Yeah.
But yeah.
Shit.
Crazy story. I really wanted to dive into that one.
Yeah.
The only time that I've ever experienced somebody getting quote unquote struck by lightning was actually my sister.
Really?
Yeah, there was a thunder. I was a little kid, so I don't think I remember it exactly.
Sure.
But I do remember there being like this plastic wrap on the ground. My dad was doing something, and it was right next to a transformer, like one of the ones on the telephone poles. And I remember my sister being outside, and she came running in, and her arm was like all swollen. She was crying, and my dad was like walking her in.
Yeah.
And she told me that she got struck by lightning. But what I think happened is something happened with that transformer. I think there was like some sort of like conduction or something from the plastic on the ground, because it was right next to it.
Yeah.
And I think she got shocked from that. But she thought she got struck by lightning, which I mean, I would have thought the same thing. She got hit by something.
Yeah.
Her arm was so swollen.
Oh my God.
But yeah, she was okay, thankfully.
Okay. Yeah,
like,
good.
She was fine.
How old was she?
Maybe like 14.
Wow.
Something like that. Yeah.
I have to ask her about it.
Yeah. She'll
that's
tell you
crazy.
about it. I'm sure she remembers.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad she's okay.
Yeah, she's okay.
Wow.
But yeah, that was Roy Sullivan, the man who got struck by lightning 7 times and lived to tell about it.
Wow. Well, cheers to you, Roy Sullivan, and your electric spirit.
I love that.
On June 25th. Love that. All right, so I'll tell you about my story, my first one. Okay. So, June 25th, 1678. So we are throwing it real far back.
1678, that's before America.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, you know what's really cool? I don't mean to cut you off, but I also have one that's from the 1600s. So
really?
Yeah, that was unplanned.
Man. Oh, I hope it's not the same one.
Maybe.
We'll see.
It might be. I don't know.
All right. So my story is the first woman to earn her doctorate.
Nope, we don't have the same one.
Okay, 2 1600 stories. Love it. Okay. So on June 25th, 1678. So I'm going to start in the middle of the story, and I'm going to kind of paint a picture for you. Okay. So, starting in the middle of the story, at Padua Cathedral on the 25th of June, or 1678, with its vaulted ceilings echoing with hushed anticipation, they were seated in the midst of the Venetian senators, university professors, and visiting scholars. A brilliant 32-year-old woman stepped forward to defend her passages from Aristotle's in flawless Latin. So, when Elena... Okay, I looked up how to say her name.
Okay.
And I'm going to try my best. Okay.
You got it.
Her name is Elena Lucrezia Corano Piscopia. Try my best. Concluded her hour-long exposition, and the crowd erupted in applause. In that moment, she shattered centuries of exclusion to become the very first woman in history to earn a university doctorate, an achievement whose ripples are still felt today.
Wow.
Right?
So there was a university in the 1600s? Whoa.
Yeah.
So I have so many questions.
Yeah. I'll probably answer them along the way, but hit me.
So what did she get her doctorate in?
Okay.
And
yeah, I'm going to answer
what
this.
was university like in the 1600s? Because I'm imagining it's not the same as today. Like, books weren't really, like, popular at that time.
Yeah, they were.
In the 1600s?
Yeah, because, I mean, like I said, to this moment, she had shattered centuries of people getting their doctorates and like education. And so it was mostly men, and it was in Europe. And so this happened in Italy. And like you said before, it was before America was a thing. But universities, don't quote me on all of this, but universities were primarily in Europe, I want to say, in the 1600s. But I don't know all of the information beyond that of like what it was like elsewhere at that time. But in Europe at that time, it was all men. She was the first one in centuries in Italy specifically, and of course in the world, to get her PhD.
Huh. Interesting. I really didn't think that books were like popular, or even like I didn't even think that like doctrine. Is it doctrine? Doctorates.
Doctorate.
Doctorate.
Yeah.
I didn't think that like any kind of status like that even existed back then. I thought there was like you had to be born into it basically.
No.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm going to look up something real quick, actually. So there's a little bit of conflicting data, but they all kind of seem like it was the year 1150-ish. And another one says the 12th century. And so it was only a couple centuries before that. But regardless, there had been doctorates and higher education in that way for a very, very, very long time.
Whoa, I did not know that. I really thought it was just like scholars, but like they had to, like you were appointed by other people, kind of, I guess. But I guess this would be somewhat the same thing almost.
In a way. I'll get into it a little bit, but
yeah, definitely continue. I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
this is interesting.
Right. Okay, so a little bit of backstory on her. So she was born in Venice on June 5th, 1646, to Giovanni Piscopia, a nobleman, and Zanetta Boni, a woman of modest means. Elena's talents emerged almost immediately. By the age of 7, she was the guidance of a family friend, a priest, Giovanni, and she had mastered Latin and Greek by her teens.
Wow.
Right?
That's impressive.
Isn't that crazy? And then she added French, Spanish, and Hebrew to that repertoire.
Oh, she was just going.
Just going.
Wow.
Yep.
I wonder what was what caused that momentum of her to like learn all these languages? Was it just to be more educated, or she sounded like she really just wanted to be more educated and more like,
I think she's had a lot of ambition, and she wanted more for herself. And I think she saw the women at that time, and like she just wanted more for herself, and she was just hungry to learn.
That's very forward thinking.
Yeah.
Even in today's standard,
right?
Like people today, like not a lot of people focus on that kind of ambition.
Yeah.
So that's really cool to
know.
see in 1600s. I'm just so shocked about that being a thing. I really did not think that was a thing.
Yeah, no, totally. But yeah, at 17, she was composing intricate pieces for the harpsichord. It's basically like a piano. On the harp, violin, and then delving into mathematics and astronomy. At 17.
Oh man, she was well versed.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
For sure. And she was doing all of that and also navigating rigid gender norms of the 7th century Italy. So she was just, kind of going throwback to the first episode of just like breaking boundaries. It's like crazy. It's so amazing like how women and just people in general can just break those norms and say like, for lack of better terms, like kind of fuck this. Like I want to just do what, best for me, and I don't really care what society thinks.
Yeah.
And so
especially back then, because like that, it feels like that's almost before that was gate kept, I guess.
Yeah.
By men.
Exactly.
Because like you hear about in 1920s, for example, like when we were talking about the Susan B. Anthony stuff, like women didn't have the right to vote.
Yeah.
And I just find that interesting that in the 1600s it seemed like there was like less of a gate for that. But it's still like there.
No, I would say more of a gate. Because
you think?
Yeah, because at that time, like there were very, very strict gender norms of like what you were and were not allowed to do. And so people had to go to bat for her and said like they want her to have this education, and like other men had to go and say to this like to the professors in the university. And so it was a really big fight for her to be able to even get into the university, especially with her being the first one. And so I would say it was even more gatekept back then. But of course, like it's those stories that have broken down boundaries for like Susan B. Anthony for today. you know? So it's like, it's chipping away at that wall, but I think that wall was really, really tall back then.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just, it's just really cool.
Yeah, it's super fascinating. But yeah, Elena's ambition was to earn a laurea, which is basically a person who is honored with this outstanding achievement in theology. And this was the only degree in Italian universities that were awarded at the time. I don't know a lot about theology specifically, and I don't really know like what that study is. I can look into it. So Elena's ambition was to earn the laurea, which is a person who is honored with an outstanding achievement. And so her philosophy tutor, Carlo I'm gonna try.
You got it.
Rinaldi and advocate Felice Rotondi petitioned to the University of Padua on her behalf. So like I was saying before, so people were going to bat for her.
Okay.
But the Cardinal Gregorio intervened and declared that women do not pursue sacred studies. As I was saying before, like people were really not open to women being, like, have any, be in the same spot as men in society.
Right, and to be able to do the same things that men were doing.
Yeah.
Which is so crazy that, like, even in the 1600s, all the way up until fairly recent, like, women weren't allowed to do a lot.
Yeah.
Or, like, it was very difficult for them to be able to do things. Like,
totally.
That's so interesting, man.
Right. But it's like things like this we don't even like talk about or think about. And so it's just super fascinating.
Well, I didn't even know a doctorate was a thing in the 1600s. So this is all news to me.
Yeah. But yeah, so she was undeterred and she went on her path, and that opened a bunch of doors for people along the way. And so fast forwarding to where we started the story, as the news of her impending exam spread, Padua buzzed with excitement and skepticism alike. The defense was moved from a lecture hall to a cathedral, and it was so big that like they had to move it to another location because this has never happened before. It was literally history being broken.
Whoa. So there was a lot of like public attention to this.
Yeah. So as the news of her impending exam spread, Padua buzzed with excitement and skepticism alike. So she actually got her PhD in philosophy, and so her arguments were over Aristotle's posterior analytics and physics. And so she was doing that in Latin.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, Aristotle?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
She was like arguing against their studies?
No, she was going for their studies. So
she was arguing for their studies.
Yeah.
I thought she was debating.
No.
Oh, okay.
So
I see.
she studied his work and she was arguing for it. Yeah.
Okay.
But close friends recalled that she had calm focus and she carried the weight of history in her voice, and there was really no faltering reserve, and she was very calm and cool, and she knew what she was talking about. And so that was really big. And so, and the decree was read, which admitted her to exam. And when 2 passages were drawn at random, Elena rose and her voice was clear and assured, dissecting each text with philosophical precision. So basically, she was going up to the stage and people were giving her just 2 random passages from that original script, the Aristotle's posterior analytics and physics, and she had to argue for them, and she had to do that in Latin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not her native tongue.
No, I don't think so. Yeah. But that was also one of the many languages that she learned at that time. When she was 17 years old.
You said she was born in Italy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
cool.
Yeah,
freaking amazing.
This might be a dumb question, but is Latin like the language of Italy?
Probably Italian.
Is it? I know Italian, but like it's like Latin's like the root language of all languages, right?
Not all languages.
Or like Italian though.
Yeah. There are a handful of root languages, and I know Latin is one of them, and I believe Latin is the root language of Italian.
Yeah. I think that's what I've heard too.
Yeah. But once she had finished everything up, the applause was thunderous, and the proof that pursuit of knowledge could go beyond any deep-rooted prejudices. And so with her exam triumph, Carlo Rinaldi was the one to award her the emblems of her new ranking. giving her a doctor's ring symbolizing an unbroken circle of inquiry, and she was then proclaimed the first Magistria et Doctrix, a title that no woman had ever borne before. And with that, the world beyond had shifted.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. No, it was amazing. So she was unbreakable. She was able to take all of this backlash and still have her steady, like, know what she wanted.
Good.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that's incredible. And what year was it?
1678.
1678.
Yeah.
Damn, breaking boundaries centuries before breaking the same boundaries in other places.
Yeah. I
That's
thought that was
crazy.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Elena.
Interesting.
She was the first person to get her doctorate.
Well, congrats, Elena. You
Yeah.
paved the way for women everywhere
Yeah.
to get their doctorate.
On June 25th.
June 25th. What a big day.
I know. Yeah. All right. What's next?
So, I am also going to 1600s.
Okay.
However, not, said yours was 1678. Oh, actually, mine's before yours.
Whoa.
That's crazy. 1633.
Wow.
We are going to introduce a utensil to what would be America.
Spoon.
Nope, a fork.
Nice.
And I'm just going to come out and say it. This is an anecdotal story. There's no way to really prove that this happened.
Fair.
So this is a story that has been passed down. But I will say, if you go and Google first fork introduced to the U.S., the story does come up.
Okay.
So
I believe it.
not technically factual,
Sure.
but there is evidence of this potentially being the first fork in the United States.
I wonder
or
what it
what would
looked
be
like.
the United States. Actually, I know what it looked like.
Really?
Yeah, well, not this specific one,
Sure.
but basically forks back then in the 1600s, they looked like tiny pitchforks. They were like, there was like 2 or 3 prongs,
Yeah.
and they weren't really meant for like scooping food into your mouth. That kind of came later. This was mainly for holding your food down while you cut it, and that
Yeah.
was it.
Makes sense.
Or you'd hold your food down, you just rip it apart with your hands, because that's basically what they did.
Fair.
There's a quote in here. So people didn't like the fork. I'll get into it, but but it was like religiously scorned.
I believe that. Does
Yeah.
it look like a pitchfork?
Yeah, they were like, the only thing worth touching God's food is the fingers with which He gave us. That's one of the quotes that I saw.
Fair.
So obviously very religious, and people did not like it. People did not like the fork. So Governor John Winthrop of the Massachusetts Bay Colony used a fork for the first time and introduced it to what would become the United States, sparking controversy about dinner etiquette for centuries to come. And I wrote that in there because the fork is always causing problems at the dinner table. There's a salad fork. There's a dinner fork. I
Fair.
still don't know which one's which.
I think one's smaller than the other.
Why does it matter?
I don't know.
Why does it matter?
I have no idea.
This is what I'm saying. This guy brought a fork over to the U.S. and now we just fight about it all the time.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
So the event involving John Winthrop is often cited as the earliest recorded introduction of the fork in what would become the United States. There is a notable entry from March 1633 where Winthrop received a care package from his friend Edward Howes, which included a small case containing a collection of silver tools or utensils. Howes described the items as a short weapon, which he referred to as an Irish skein, which is basically what I interpreted as like a shank or a shiv or a like small dagger.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's the knife?
That is a something. It's not the fork.
Okay.
It's something else. But that was included with a small knife, a small saw, a steel hammer, a bodkin, which I wasn't really sure what that was, and a fork, all in one case. And he wrote a note to Winthrop saying that he leaves the usefulness of these applications up to his own discretion. So that just kind of tells you that this dude did not know how to use a fork.
Fair.
I will say, though, that forks were actually used in other countries. They were introduced from Spanish, French colonies, and probably came from an Italian influence. So the first known fork is this one that John Winthrop had brought to him. But this may not be the first time a fork was actually here. This is the first
Gotcha.
documented time.
Wow.
And though it was in March of 1633, there is a story circulating that June 25th, 1633, John Winthrop pulled out a fork and started using it to eat.
Huh.
And that is the first time that happened. So I looked up what actually was in the case that House sent to him. There was messages from friends and neighbors and family that were concerned about his well-being. There was also a book on making fireworks, apparently. These are
Casual.
Very, right? Go from well wishes to fireworks.
All the essentials.
A book on using a slide rule.
What is that?
It's a device resembling a ruler used for performing mathematical calculations before the advent of electronic calculators.
The more you know.
And what I've read of John Winthrop, he was actually very smart. He was a very intelligent person, kind of from, a very elite family. That's all I got, really.
Okay.
That's about it.
Gotcha.
He was one of the first governors of what would be Massachusetts, so the Massachusetts Bay Colony. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Anyway, yeah, he wrote in his journal that he had received a care package from Howe's, and he said that it contained a fork, and he wasn't really sure what to do with it yet.
Huh.
So
did he know that it was like a utensil for eating, or did he use it as like decoration or something? Or
it doesn't sound like he knew what to do with it.
Huh.
Because like from everything that I've read, like Howes basically wrote a letter to him saying like, this is a case of things that I had sent to you. Do with that what you will.
Oh,
basically, like, I'm not sure what to do with this.
Okay.
Which is interesting, though, because, like, Winthrop was highly educated and well-connected to England.
Yeah.
Where the fork was just beginning to gain acceptance among the elite.
Oh.
According to what I found. So it's interesting to me that he didn't know what the fork was.
Yeah.
At this point.
Interesting.
But maybe it was just around that time that, like, nobody really used it, I guess. Like, somebody just kind of created this thing to hold their food down.
Sure.
And that was all it was for.
Maybe it was so new that, like, the word hadn't gotten around to, like, really knowing what it was. Or, like, maybe it was called something else or something like that at the time. Or
it's possible, yeah. Like I said, it was, like, introduced in other cultures, like Spanish colonists or French colonists who had Italian influence, which, they're always using forks. Look at the spaghetti, Yeah,
well, I was going to say, I mean, kind of going back to, like, the word of mouth of it all, like, I mean, we didn't have the internet or any kind of, like, technology to, share what it is. And so it really relied on that. And so I'm sure news of things like that spread really, really slowly. And he had one. He was just like, what is this abomination?
I think he was just trying to figure out what to do with it.
Yeah, that's fair. Huh, that's crazy. Kind of cool. You never really think about that. You kind of just think that, like, the fork just kind of
it just
came
kind of showed
here.
up, right?
Yeah,
you don't think about, like, how that was, like, new technology at one point.
And to even call it technology.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, we use it every single day, and we don't think anything of it. But at one point, it didn't exist. It just wasn't a thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Around this time, forks were still seen as suspicious and foreign, and were often criticized religiously, like I was saying before.
So, like, what do people think? That, like, you have a fork and now you worship the devil?
Not that specifically, but I wouldn't be surprised.
That's crazy.
Because there was literally that quote, the only thing worth touching God's food is the fingers with which he gave us. Yeah. And so up until this point, how they would eat. They would just eat with their hands.
Okay, that's what I was saying.
They would use spoons. Spoons were a thing.
Yeah, you can't eat soup with your hand.
Yeah.
That'd be bad. That would make sense, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so people who did have forks, it was just the elite members of society that would likely have one, and it often consisted of silver or dark wooden handles and be very expensive. So this was like, and this was technology in quotes that only the elite would have access to. Yeah. And I can't say for certain if they actually even used them. I don't know if it was like a decorative thing or what.
No idea. Why couldn't people, like, metalsmiths and people...
You mean blacksmiths?
Blacksmiths, yeah. But, like, why couldn't people could just make them? I guess maybe they didn't know what they looked like, and they were, like, behind closed doors. Ooh, it's a fork. The new technology. But yeah, I mean, I feel like people probably could have made them.
So I just looked it up, and it says while forks were becoming more common in Europe during the 17th century, they were still uncommon in the American colonies. Eating with forks was considered a luxury and primarily used by the wealthy, especially in Europe where they were becoming fashionable.
Whoa.
People are so funny, dude.
Yeah. It's crazy because, like, societal driven norms, like that forks are fashionable. And it's like the same thing now. It's what we deem as fashionable or what's in, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I've got a fork. It's made of silver. I don't know why I'm making that accent.
I don't either. But man, humans are funny creatures.
Humans are funny. Like, whenever there's, like, the new thing, like, it hasn't changed. We have not changed
No.
for, like, the last, 4 or 5 centuries at least.
Yeah, definitely even more than that.
Yeah, probably way more than that. But, like, just reading this story is just ridiculous.
Man.
Like, I knew this was going to be a funny segment, but I didn't realize, like, how funny that sentence was going to be.
Man.
Eating with a fork was a luxury. It's just interesting.
New technology. That's crazy. On June 25th.
On June 25th. Well, allegedly.
Allegedly.
I can't prove
That's
that this. If you look it up, it says June 25th, but the journal entry is in March. So I don't know. I don't know where June 25th came into that,
No
but
idea.
that is something that came up, and I ran with it.
Okay.
So do with that what you will.
I mean, I will take it. June 25th.
June 25th.
Alrighty. So on to mine.
Yeah.
Okay. So June 25th, 1978. So we're kind of going forward a lot a bit.
Yeah, we went from the 1600s.
Yeah. Actually, I was just thinking about it. It's actually 300 years after the first one got their doctorate. This happened.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Because that was 1678, and this is 1978. So,
Oh, wow.
300 years later, the pride flag was unveiled to the public.
Hey.
So, on June 25th. Okay, giving you another scene. So, imagine standing in San Francisco's United Nations Plaza on a bright summer morning. The streets are already humming with anticipation and excitement from the Gay Freedom Parade that was prepared to wind its way down the market street. And something extraordinary was about to be unfurled in the breeze, an 8-striped banner of vivid hues. And I don't know if you know, but the one right now actually has 6. And so I'll go into the history of that, of like how that happened. But at that time, it was 8. And each color celebrated a different facet of LGBTQ life. And as marchers and onlookers gathered, the very first pride flag, a labor of love, literally, stitched together by dedicated activists, rises above the crowds, becoming a powerful symbol of unity, visibility, and joyful spirits of a community.
I did not know that the colors meant different things.
Yeah.
I really thought it was just, a rainbow color, and that was it. I'm to be completely honest, I've never looked into why the flag is the way that it is.
Well, then I will tell you today.
Yeah, this is very cool.
Yeah, I didn't actually know that before either. I always thought it was a rainbow, and that was that.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, no,
Interesting.
But each color means something.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and I'll tell you what each color means, too.
Okay, let's hear it.
From the original as well, but...
So there was 8 on the original, there's less now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. But anyways, so the story begins with Harvey Milk. And he was the first...
Wait, his last name was Milk?
Milk.
Nice.
He was one of the first openly gay elected officials in the United States, and he served in San Francisco's Board of Supervisors. He was elected in 1977, and he believed that the gay rights movement deserved its own flag and something that was instantly recognizable and uplifting, just like the American flag, something to like be the representation of this movement that's gaining more and more popularity, So he turned to Gilbert Baker, a self-taught artist, a drag performer, and a Vietnam War veteran. That is a crazy repertoire.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. I love that for him. And he asked him to design a banner that would proclaim, "We are here and we are proud." So that was like the moving force behind the flag.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so Baker, the one with the drag performer / Vietnam War veteran.
Oh, this was the same person?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought these were 2 different people.
No, that's what I was
wow.
saying. So the first guy, Harvey Milk, he went to Gilbert Baker, and he was a self-taught artist, drag performer, and a Vietnam War veteran.
Oh my God.
I know.
Wow. Okay. When you first said that, I was like, those are too many things for one person. That must be 3 different people.
No, it was all one person.
Wow, those are like on completely different spectrums. That's so crazy.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was so cool.
It was Baker. What was her first name?
Gilbert.
Gilbert Baker.
Yep.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. So he assembled a team of 30 volunteers at the Gay Community Center, and they hand-dyed and stitched sections of the cloth into an 8-color rainbow. The colors were hot pink, red, orange, yellow, green, turquoise, indigo, and violet. And so each color carried a meaning, like I was saying. So pink was for sexuality, red for life, orange for healing, yellow for sunlight, green for nature, turquoise for art and magic, indigo for serenity, and violet for spirit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Isn't
that's
that
cool.
lovely?
I didn't know that.
I know. Honestly, we should bring back the other one. It looks really cool.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen the original.
I don't think I had. I mean, I saw it whenever I was doing the research, but before that, I didn't even know that was the case.
Are you going to be able to put that on the
Oh,
Instagram?
Of course, of course.
Nice.
Yes, absolutely. Going back to the maiden flight, on June 25th, the first pride flag was hoisted at the Gay Freedom Parade, and it was 2 giant 30 by 60 foot banners waved side by side and carried by volunteers along Market Street. Their appearance was electric, a living spectrum that caught the eyes of onlookers, and it was instantly embraced as an emblem of liberation and visibility. And so, yeah, that was the unveiling of it the first time around.
Yeah. And so this was the very first time it was flown.
Mm-hmm.
And what were the events that led up to this? Like, why did they decide to do it on this day?
So that was the parade was the day. So they really wanted to have an event that was, big with the community, and they wanted to have something to like show that this is a big movement. But prior to this, the HIV/AIDS was kind of, I don't want to say rampant, but like it was big media.
Yeah,
at that time.
Yeah.
And so it was something like that was one of the things that they said that they wanted to have something to unify people and like make it feel like they weren't alone in this fight against.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And then also Harvey Milk, like being in politics and like, being the first openly elected gay person in government, he wanted to say as well, like, I want something to unify us together and like unify the community.
See, we need more people like that are forward thinking in government. Like,
right.
It would be great to have somebody that's dedicated to bringing the community together in one way or another.
Right.
This is a beautiful story.
I know, right? But unfortunately, I hate that you said that right now. But
oh, no.
So I love that. But at the same time, so he actually was assassinated, which really...
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And it's crazy. So he, 5 months later, on November 27th, 1978, Harvey Milk was assassinated by Dan White, which is honestly, it's so crazy that this happened. But so Dan White was a former San Francisco supervisor along with Mayor George Moscone. And White recently, so the guy, Dan White, that he assassinated Harvey Milk, he resigned, but then he wanted his job back. And then he went to the mayor, George Moscone, and he was like, no, we have this position filled. And so he shot him and Harvey Milk at City Hall.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I know.
Dude, wait a second.
He like literally had a hissy fit and was like, I want my job back. And then they were like, no. And then...
So he shot that... Who was that guy?
The other guy was George Moscone.
Who was he, though?
He was a mayor.
He was... Okay, so he was the mayor, and then...
Harvey Milk was the board of supervisors.
Okay, and so White was like, hey, I want my job, and...
The mayor said no, and then...
And so he shot him, and then shot Milk. Wow.
Yeah.
What an asshole.
Right. Yeah. So all of that, it reinforced the demand for this. And they were like, this is insane. Like, no, we're not going to let like someone in our community, especially a member of the community that's like breaking boundaries and, create this beautiful community for us. And so they were like, yeah, we want this to be the case. And so they started creating this flag in the like thousands, and so they were like really starting to mass produce these flags and try to like make as many as they can to like really unify the the community together. When they were doing that, they found that the pink and the turquoise was, to make it so much, like to make so much of it, it was a little bit harder because it was kind of scarce and costly. And so they dropped those, unfortunately.
So this was like an efficiency gain for them to be able to get more flags out. They just kind of, so it's not like it wasn't like a negative connotation to it. It was just that this was easier to do at that moment.
Exactly.
Huh.
Yeah. So they changed it. So it wasn't for like any, like you said, negative reason or anything like that, but it was very much like, we want to get this out and we want to like have this community be together in, Harvey Milk's memory. Unfortunately, they dropped those, but the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet still endures today. In the early 1980s, the six-stripe version flew at protests, concerts, marches, and it became an inseparable fight against AIDS crisis and the ongoing struggle for civil rights. And so that was a big part of it too, prior to like the flag being a thing, of like a unifying force to brand themselves people together to say like, we deserve civil rights. And so it was like, this flag was more than just like something to, fly at, marches or whatever. It was very much like something to say like, no, we are together, we are here, we are proud.
Yeah, it has a much deeper meaning than just a flag that dictates or depicts.
Yeah, like the rainbow.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so after that, the community started adding their own riffs to it, and so there was the Philadelphia's More Colors, More Pride, and they inserted black and brown stripes atop the flag.
I have seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the new flag or is that?
That's just a version of it. Yeah.
Because I think I've seen a couple, but go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right. So that was one of them. That was for people of color and to commemorate those that lost their lives to HIV/AIDS.
Oh, wow. I didn't know. I knew people of color, but I didn't know about the lost lives one.
Yeah. But it's like, it's making all of these amendments to the flag to like make more and more people feel welcome into the community. It's not just a rigid, hard line of like, no, that's it. Like, it's a very open community and open flag. So yeah.
Well, I love the gay community because like they're very just open and welcoming and just excited to just be. I just love it.
I love it. Yeah. So then after that, in 2018, there was the Progress Pride flag. And so that was whenever the light blue, pink, and white and the black and brown were all added together. And that was incorporating the trans flag colors. So it was starting to like, open again, like adding more. Another version of it was the intersex inclusive pride flag. And so this was the normal flag with a purple circle on a yellow field. I don't think I've ever seen that one.
I don't think I've seen that one either.
Yeah, but that was in 2021, so more recent. But regardless, each variation reinforces the principle of that pride is not static. It evolves with solidarity and a full spectrum of queer identities. Yeah.
That's very cool.
Okay, so just kind of tying it all up. So Baker chose this flag and chose the rainbow specifically because it's naturally occurring. It's a powerful symbol in that rainbows appear after storms, reminding us that out of adversity comes hope, and they're universally seen by people everywhere. And so it really transcends languages and barriers. And Baker himself said, in quote, he wanted a symbol that was as beautiful as the human spirit.
Oh, that's deep.
Yeah.
I love that.
I know. So, today was the day that it was unveiled. And honestly, I feel like the world has been better for it.
Yeah. I would agree.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing how, like, they keep including more things in the flag to make other people feel included and not alone. And I think that's very beautiful.
Yeah. So I actually have one more last thing that I wanted to share with you. I was going down a little bit in my research, but I wanted to say that every time you see those stripes, you are witnessing a legacy of defiance against oppression and a promise that love and unapologetic visibility will always find a way to shine. So
beautiful.
That's how I wanted to end it.
Let's go. Pride Month.
Woo! Yeah. I love that it was on June 25th too. Like, I don't know if it was intentional that Pride Month was this month.
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But regardless, I think it's just beautiful.
Yeah. The meaning behind the flag is what I find the most fascinating, because like we were saying before, I don't want to say, I'm not trying to sound ignorant, but it, like, whenever I saw it, I was like, oh, that's just a flag, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't really think anything of it, but when you actually put the story behind it of like why it exists and why it has the colors it does, it really deepens the impact of what that flag stands for.
Yeah.
And I think that's honestly very beautiful, and I think other people should be aware of it. I guess.
Agree.
You know, like I think people should learn about that kind of stuff and know like what is the sacrifices that went into this, what is the meaning behind these colors, or even the symbols on it, or if there are any, you know, like anything like that. So,
totally.
And I don't know, I just find that really cool.
Yeah, I thought it was lovely. I think it's beautiful. Yeah, and I mean, you're right. Like the part about the colors, I had no idea each color meant something, and I think that's just another layer of the beauty of what it means and what it stands for. Yeah.
And I just think the meaning behind that also is much more connecting than any other flag. Like I was saying, like the meaning behind other flags, like they're not just flags, but like at least with this one, there's a more communicative meaning behind it than, you know, just like state flags or like, you know what I mean? Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure there's meaning behind each of those, and we'll go into it. But it's just like this one literally connects a community, and it like brings a community together. I think it's just like, I completely agree. It transcends beyond so much more than just like a piece of land. It's like a community. It's a common thought.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. I love that. But yeah, happy June 25th, 1978. The first pride flag.
Woo. Very cool.
All right, what you got?
Well, sticking with the topic of color, I want to talk about the first commercial color television broadcast.
Ooh.
Yeah, not quite as deep as the gay pride flag, but still colorful in its own right.
Yeah.
So on June 25th, 1951, CBS aired Premiere, which was a musical, and it was the first commercially sponsored color television program. The program did not reach a whole lot of audience members, since most people who had televisions at the time, because that was also kind of a luxury, they only played in black and white, and this program, it kind of required a specific type of television set for it to display in color.
Whoa.
So anybody that had black and white TVs, they just couldn't watch this. So it actually wasn't like very widely seen.
So did a lot of people have that? I'm sure it was like the rich only had that. Like they could go out and buy the proper television set prior to this even happening.
Yeah, you know? It was basically that, and it was also like television broadcasters, like people that were testing out how color TV could work, were the only ones that had these TV sets, basically.
Okay.
So it wasn't super popular, and this was basically kind of like a test run.
Gotcha.
Of like how does this technology work? But however, this event marked a significant turning point in television technology, setting the stage for the eventual widespread adoption of color TV. While it took some years for color broadcasting to become common and for color TV ownership to become widespread, this initial broadcast by CBS stands as a key moment in history for television.
Oh, yeah.
Could you imagine if we still had just black and white TV?
No. I wonder, honestly, it's crazy. I feel like, I mean, kind of like the time of COVID, you know, whenever everyone had their masks, I actually started a job around that time. And so I was like, just kind of assuming what the rest of their faces looked like. And so I was like, I wonder with the people that were watching these shows, and like they probably watched it for a while, and I wonder if like they assumed what they looked like in color and if it matched up to like what it actually was.
Oh, you know what? Probably. Yeah. I could see that. Actually, there was a very common thing that would happen to people that had black and white TVs. They would dream in black and white.
Really?
Yeah, because like they would, you know, be in front of their TVs a lot, and so like they would just dream in black and white. And there was a name for that condition. I'll have to look up the name real quick, but
whoa, that's crazy. I'm surprised that like real life didn't override that. I guess they were watching a lot of TV at the time. Well, I feel like with TVs, they probably weren't around for that much time prior to the color happening, and so I wonder if they were like, whoa, this new phenomenon.
Oh, so it's not a clinical condition or a specific disorder. It's more accurately described as a difference in dream experience with the prevalence of black and white dreams potentially influenced by factors like being around a black and white TV. Also, age
That'll do it.
can affect it.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
But you were saying about the first TV?
Yeah, I was wondering because I was saying that like the first person, like with people having dreams up in black and white, I wonder why color, like real life, didn't supersede that and like, you know, just living everyday life. But then I was thinking like I was really just like brain vomiting, but with the color or with TV probably being more popular at the time, I wonder if people were just like, oh my God, what is this like new phenomenon? You know?
Yeah, I mean...
Do you know when the first TV or...
I was literally looking at
That's fair.
Oh, wow. I did not know this. So the very first working electronic television system, Philo Taylor Farnsworth, in 1927, he was 21 years old.
Whoa.
That's pretty insane.
That's crazy.
Television, well, it was invented in 1927. But it looks like television was popular for families, like black and white TVs, in the 1940s, I want to say.
Okay.
So 1950s is when color TV like first started becoming a thing, but people didn't really have access to that technology at the time.
I see. Okay. So I guess it makes sense that people were dreaming in color or dreaming in black and white. Because I feel like for that time, since it was so new, I feel like people were probably glued to the screens and they probably didn't know the adverse effects of being glued to a screen for that long.
It's also like the same thing. Like if you do something like video games, for example, if you're playing a video game, like you go to sleep, you sometimes dream that you just dream about the video game, I guess.
That's fair.
Or like I'm sure there's other things too.
Yeah, no, totally. Whenever I'm gardening, I feel like I blink and I see grass.
I do the same thing. Like if I'm outside doing like yard work at all and I'm around plants or trees or something, I close my eyes and I see the leaves.
Yeah.
Oh, especially when I'm getting rid of the poison ivy, actually.
Crazy. Yeah. Then I guess it makes sense.
Yeah. CBS used a mechanical color system designed by Peter Goldmark, which was not compatible with existing black and white TVs. This was a key limitation as the system required special color-capable receivers. So like I was saying before, a lot of people had black and white TVs, so they couldn't watch this broadcasting network because their TVs just weren't capable of doing it.
Wow.
So don't know exactly what would happen to the TV if they tried to tune in, but I'd imagine it was probably just like static or something.
Oh, yeah, because I'm sure the receptors or something on the back end was different than the black and white.
Yeah.
And so it probably didn't read it the way that it should have.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. Do you remember seeing like static snow on TVs?
Yes.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I always thought the noise it made was very satisfying.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. I did not.
You know? Unless I was by myself, then I found it scary.
A little creepy. Yeah. I feel like I instantly feel like it's creepy. But I feel like it's really association with it or something.
Yeah. The color system used 3 rotating color wheels and was based on the NTSC, or National Television System Committee. This was the color broadcast standard that would eventually become widely adopted in the U.S. In the 1950s and 1960s. Only a small number of these experimental color TV sets were in use, and they were typically located in laboratories or TV industry offices. The broadcast featured a variety of content to highlight the potential of color television. CBS used a mix of musical acts, comedy sketches, and drama scenes. The show also demonstrated the improv vividness and realism of color over the traditional black and white broadcast that dominated the television at the time.
Huh.
Yeah, so it sounds all pretty cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was a lot of like mechanical stuff that had to work in the TV.
Yeah.
Because
I wonder what the testing looked like prior to that, because like would they have to have that program go on first just to like make sure it worked? Because like God forbid, like they say like, oh, this is the first time color's ever done, and like they try to do it and like they make a whole thing of it and it doesn't work, you know?
Yeah.
Like I wonder how that worked.
Well, I think they used the laboratories to just kind of like they hooked up the TV, and I don't know how they played anything on it, but I'm sure they had something to kind of plug into it to play on the screen.
Yeah.
It's kind of fascinating because, like, nowadays, it feels like just, like, TVs or screens in general, they just work.
Yeah.
But there was so much technology in the beginning to make it to this point.
Yeah.
And now, like, we have our phones, we have laptops, TVs, and, like, that technology is so impressive now.
Right.
Like, it's incredibly impressive now, but we don't think anything of it, especially if you're comparing it to the 1950s.
Totally.
When color TV wasn't even a thing, really.
Right. Yeah.
And they were just trying to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
And now it's fine. Now everything is in color.
God. And that really wasn't that long ago, like, at all.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It was 70 years ago?
Yeah.
Despite the promising technology, CBS's mechanical color system was eventually deemed impractical due to its high operating costs and complexity. The system was quickly overshadowed by the development of the electronically based color system by RCA, also known as Radio Corporation of America, which was more efficient, cost-effective, and compatible with existing black and white sets. So that was a big jump for them because this first color television set did not work for black and white televisions.
Huh.
So the RCA system, which, real quick, do you remember RCA?
No.
You don't remember them? I had an RCA TV.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait. Okay, it's like the little symbol on the bottom of the TV. Is that weird? Okay.
Yeah, it just says RCA on it.
Yeah, I feel like I vaguely do.
I had one that had the... remember when TVs had the VHS thing on the bottom and you can play VHS type? Yeah, I had one of those.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
really
super
showing your
old school.
age.
Oh, okay. You're not far behind, you know.
No, I remember that too.
The RCA system was later adopted as the official U.S. color broadcast standard in 1953. So that wasn't actually too long later.
No.
So this happened the first color TV broadcast started in 1951. And then RCA came in and basically enhanced the technology to become the standard just 2 years later.
Wow.
So it was moved very quickly.
Yeah, I'd say.
And color television became mainstream by early 1960s.
That really wasn't that long ago, like, at all.
Yeah, right?
Wow.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the technology we have now, like the colors that we see on TV or our laptops.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's so vivid and great.
Yeah.
Like, the technology behind that is so incredibly fascinating.
Yeah.
But we don't think about it because it's just, like, in our everyday lives.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how much better a TV can get. We had 4K. Is it like 8K? Is there 12K now?
I have no idea.
Like, they just keep adding more pixels.
Right.
And eventually, I don't know, unless we get holograms. I think that's like the next thing.
I guess so, yeah. But, I mean, that even being in conversation, going from the fact that, like, color TVs were popularized in the, you said 60s?
Yeah.
Really wasn't that long ago. Like,
no.
Wow.
Isn't that wild?
It's
like,
incredible.
60 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was when color TV was starting to take off. And now I just can't get over that.
No.
Like, I can't get over the fact that we have HD TV.
Yeah.
We have, like, it's like almost beyond HD TV at this point.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's incredible.
So June 25th, 1951 is remembered as a pivotal moment in the history of television technology, marking the beginning of the transition from black and white to color TV.
Incredible.
Yeah,
wow.
Keeping the colorful topic
alive
for the day.
Yeah. Well, my last one isn't colorful per se. All right, so my last story for June 25th it happened on June 25th, 2014, so a little over a decade ago. It ties really well with what you were saying before about, what was it, Leon Day?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We're halfway to Christmas.
Yeah, we're halfway to Christmas. So on June 25th, 2014, it was the largest gathering of people wearing Santa hats.
No way.
Yeah.
In the middle of summer.
In the middle of summer.
I love that.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yep, it was 30,333 people.
Whoa.
Yeah.
40,000? Mm-hmm. Was this all in like one community, or like was this like a well-known thing throughout the States or something?
No, great question. So it happened at the Angels Stadium in Anaheim, California. So Angels is the baseball team for Anaheim, California. And so it was right before the game started. So what they did was they made sure everyone had their Santa hats on whenever the game started. And then there were people watching to see, like, make sure that everyone has it on at the exact same time. And so whenever that moment happened, they told everyone to put their Santa hats on, and then the record was broken.
That's so cool. Yeah. The choreography for this is pretty crazy.
Yeah, no.
40,000 people? 44,000?
No, so 30,333 people.
Where did I get 40,000? Still though, 30,000. It's quite a bit of people. So
right.
How did they kind of correspond this? Like, how did people...
So they were having an event called Christmas in June.
Christmas in June, I love it.
Yeah, and I'd have to believe that it was because it was the halfway point to
Leon Day.
Leon Day, yeah. Nowhere in the research did it say that specifically, but they did say it was Christmas in June, and so yeah, and it was a fun twist on a summer baseball game, and so yeah, like I said, as people arrived, they made sure everyone had their Santa hat. And yeah, it was a sea of the red and white little hats.
That's so cute. Yeah. I love that so much. That makes me happy.
I know, right? And so I was looking into it a little bit just to see like what this record was before, because I hadn't even heard of this. So prior to that, the record was November 2010. And this was in Massachusetts, and that was 872 people. And prior to that, it was November 2009 in Ireland, and that was about 700 people. And so they like blew it out of the park.
Yeah, like tenfold or more so.
So many more so, oh my goodness. But I don't know if I think it's still the current record holder for that. Yes, it is. It is still the record holder for that because it's still on the Guinness World Record for it. So if we want to gather more than 30,333 people,
we will do that someday. That would be great.
Yeah, right? I thought that was really cool. But yeah, it was just like a fun way that like everyone could come together to do, and yeah, just putting on a Santa hat and breaking a record.
Well, fun. What a fun little record to do on Leon Day.
Right,
6 months until Christmas.
Exactly. Yeah, so I thought that it tied in really nicely with what you said earlier. I was
love that.
That's perfect.
That is perfect. I love that. Yeah, you said that earlier, and I was like, what could she possibly be talking about? But yeah, that says it very nicely.
Yeah.
Very cute.
Tying it up for June 25th, that was on 2014, but for June 25th.
Nice. Well,
thank you for tuning in, everyone.
I'm just astounded. I didn't know what to say.
Right? Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, it's a good episode. Well, this has been Today in Years Past. If you want to reach us on Instagram, you can do that at
Today in Years Past.
Or if you want to reach out to us on email and just, tell us how much you love the episode, or if you have ideas on new episodes, let us know at
yearspastpodcast@gmail.com.
This has been Today in Years Past. We've been really having a blast doing this. Hope you guys are enjoying it. So, my name is Michael. I'm signing off.
Woo! My name is Sarika. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.